If you're tired of going negative in rank and dropping reverse nukes, then be sure to watch the entire video. I'm Finesse and this is how to get better at COD Mobile. So let's start off with the first tip, and that is warm up. Warm up is very necessary when you start playing your first game, because when you wake up your hands won't be as steady and you might miss a lot of your shots in the first few games. And your aim will also be very shaky, especially if you play gyro. So I would suggest you take at least 5 to 10 minutes to steady your aim in the training grounds. The second tip is using the right guns and the right attachments for it. So knowing what the meta is and how to abuse it becomes very important when you're in the higher tiers like legendary and if you're pushing rank. For example, the current meta right now is Fennec and the AS Val. Both the guns can be abused in the right way with the right attachments. For example, Fennec being a gun with very high recoil, only a certain amount of players will be able to control the recoil of the gun. As for the AS Val, as it is an AR, it's more of a mid-range weapon, so you should build it in that way. Here are some AS Val loadouts for you to try out. Another really good weapon is the PP Bison. It will literally laser at mid to longer ranges. The gun has little to no recoil, so even players who aren't able to control the recoil of other guns can use this gun very easily. Another very important attachment that the Bison has is the large caliber mag. So what does that exactly do? So you have different multipliers at different body parts. So for example, upper body deals little extra damage and at the lower body you'll deal a lower damage. So what this does is you will deal the same damage throughout the body. So it doesn't matter if you aim at the toes, if you aim at his chest, it will deal the same amount of damage. So even if your aim isn't really good, you can still deal like a 4-shot kill even if you hit the toes. Here's a link to the PP Bison loadout video. The third tip I have is pre-aim. Pre-aiming is very important when it comes to winning gunfights. It's more likely that a person who is scoped in would win the gunfight rather than the person who is running and waiting to scope in. In succession to pre-aiming, pre-firing is something which becomes very easy once you're scoped in and you can start firing angles where you think the enemy could be. Which brings us to pre-firing. Pre-firing angles is not as easy as it looks. Sometimes you might think an enemy is approaching, you might shoot, but no one will be there, and you might end up revealing your location. And the entire enemy team will just look at that angle, waiting for you to push, and your pre-fire might end up losing you the round in SND. But if your pre-fire is timed really well, you could easily surprise an opponent and get the kill without taking any damage. Position plays a really big role in SND, so just try to be very stealthy in SND. Preferably use a suppressor so that your location isn't revealed on the minimap. Which brings us to another important tip, that is always look at your minimap. That little rectangle box could give you so much information. You just need to look at it and figure out where the players will push from and where your teammates are looking, so you know that you have cover from that side. Even if your teammates' voice chats aren't on, you can just look at the minimap and know what angle your teammate is holding. Which brings us to our last tip, that is crosshair placement. This is probably the most important tip when it comes to winning gunfights. The placement of your crosshair will determine where you first open your scope. You can aim for the upper body very easily if your crosshair placement is right. Even when you're not taking a fight, you want your crosshair to be at the level of the chest. It should not be too up, it should not be too down. And always aim for corners. If you did like the video, do consider subscribing as we are on our way to 15k subs. Thank you for watching and have a great day ahead.